Hi guys, this is Max here, back again with hopefully another great political video, and today we're going to talk about a very serious and important issue, which is guns in the United States of America. They've always been around and been a major part of our society ever since we became an independent nation. And today we're going to talk about the various arguments that people on the political spectrum are presenting in regards to gun control, gun freedoms, and what my take on this issue would be. Now, first of all, I greatly condone all these actions that spark these debates over gun violence. Mass shootings are terrible, but the focus of this video will be what demands different types of people are making and how they're trying to influence you with certain types of political ads. I'm going to play two ads, one by the NRA and another one by a man who lost a child during the famous Sandy Hook massacre. And we'll begin with the NRA ad first.
And sexism and xenophobia and homophobia, to smash windows, burn cars, shut down interstates and airports, bully and terrorize the law-abiding. The only way we stop this, the only way we save our country and our freedom is to fight this violence of lies with the clenched fist of truth.
Alright, now that was an NRA recruitment ad trying to find new members. Now, let's take a little look at the ad by a dad of a Sandy Hook victim and what message they're trying to send.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have. These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Alright, now, both of these videos were arguably disturbing and promoted very extreme scenes and obviously tried to play with people's fears. One tried to play with the fear of the mob taking you over if you didn't have a gun for self-defense, and the other one played with the fear of having your children be slaughtered if no additional gun control legislation was passed. Now, let's try to take a moderate approach on the issue. No matter what your political beliefs are, just try to take them apart for 1 second and go back. Go back 250 years or more. Go to the point when the United States Constitution was written, and let's take a look at the so often talked about Second Amendment. Does it guarantee the right to keep and bear arms? Well, obviously it does. It states clearly the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That is not the only part of this sentence. There is another one. This one states a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. Some people would say the only reason why the founders passed this amendment was in order to make sure that a militia would be able to gather arms, and that in order to keep a weapon at your house, you should be a member of a militia. Well, that is certainly one way to look at it, but it is not technically the correct way. Because regardless of whether you are actively participating in a militia in a time of peace, you would need that weapon potentially at some point when you decide to spontaneously form a militia to oppose either government tyranny or a foreign invasion. In the Second Amendment, the blue underlined sentence is the active clause, the operative clause, what the amendment is all about, which is about the people's right to bear arms. And the red underlined part is the justification clause, which states why you have a right to bear arms. So you have a right to bear arms as an individual, so if you were to join a militia, you would have the necessary tools to do so. And that is what the United States Supreme Court correctly proclaimed in their decision D.C. v. Heller, where they stated everybody has a right to bear arms. That is the current interpretation of the United States Constitution, and to be frankly correct, it is the right one. But let me say one thing. That is not the last thing that needs to be said about guns in America. There is more to it. First of all, let's talk about a few facts. Before I'm going to get into the exact constitutional details, let's see what gun violence usually refers to. This graph here shows us the rate of defensive gun use, DGU, depicted in blue, so this one here, in regards to violent crime. So there are a little less than 500,000 violent crimes committed each year by people who are using a firearm. And about 2.5 million incidents occur in which people use a firearm to defend themselves. This would give you a hint on why the Founding Fathers intended the Constitution to work in a way that everybody has a right to bear arms. Or at least why there should be one today. Because people have a legitimate argument to make, especially in American cities that are less safe, that they should have the right to have a firearm in the case of an emergency. A gun for you can offer you a certain amount of protection. It slightly increases the risk amongst the general public, but you're never going to get rid of guns entirely. You might get into a situation like in some European countries where most people don't have guns, but criminals and murderers will still get their hands on them. So if you make sure that everybody is armed, you could actually lead to lower crime rates, because even if you want to commit a crime, when you know that the person you're trying to attack is armed, you're less likely to do so. So by many means, the arguments that gun owners make are legitimate. But they're not the only side of the story. You must see, there is a certain thing most people don't talk about, which is suicide. States with a certain thing called mandatory waiting periods, so you have to wait 5 or 7 days, in order to purchase a gun, have lower suicide rates. If you make an active or impulsive decision, and you get your firearm and you shoot some other people or you shoot yourself, that can be very drastic. Now, if there was a mandatory waiting period for 5 days, somebody who wants to commit a mass shooting probably still would do it after 5 days if he plans it for a long time. But if you're just completely down, if you found out the worst news, if your child died, or if something else terrible happened, and you just want to end your life, and you want to purchase that gun in order to kill yourself, but you have to wait 5 days, then there is a decent chance that after 5 days, you will come to reconsider that idea, and you won't kill yourself. So, even though I personally am overall opposed to additional gun control laws, I do favor a slightly longer waiting period in order to purchase a gun, to make things more safe for people, and to bring down the suicide rate. It won't drastically decrease the amount of people that kill themselves in America, but it will certainly save a few people's lives. And as Jesus the Lord told us, whoever saves a single life saves all of humanity. And there's one more thing we need to talk about. I have this picture here in order to represent the overall message of this video. It's supposed to be a moderate one. In regards to gun laws, we have a clear policy that states they should not be in the hands of, number one, convicted criminals who committed or were found guilty of a felony. Number two, dishonorably discharged veterans. And number three, and most importantly, mentally ill people. Those three groups of people should never own or hold a firearm, because they would pose a threat to themselves and society. And that is law. That is undisputed law. These people should not have those weapons. And they still get their hands on them. Minors can get their hands on weapons, and that is because of a thing called gun show loophole. You can just go to a gun show, purchase a gun, regardless of whether you're supposed to own one or not. And the way how we could get rid of that is something called universal background checks. Now, I know universal background checks are not something that the NRA lobby wants to hear, because it would drag down sales. But 90% of Americans, and I'm going to look that up, which percentage of Americans supports universal background checks? A vast majority of Americans support that change. $89% support a universal background check. This will work. It will make sure that ordinary, law-abiding citizens who want to use their gun for self-defense can have those guns. But the murderers, villains, and mentally ill people can't have them. They won't even get anywhere near those weapons because they're going to misuse them. Yet the reason why we do not have those background checks is because Congress is bought and owned by corporations and big business, the NRA being one of them. And there's one person who could go around that and make sure that mass shootings never happen again, and we can all keep our guns at the same time as long as we're law-abiding citizens, and that person is Joe Biden. Our president literally has the power by executive action to enable and create universal background checks. Now, he cannot make any laws by executive action, of course not, but background checks are not law. There are already laws that prevent ownership of guns for certain people, but they need to be enforced, and the federal government has the ability to enforce federal law. So if Joe Biden was to sign an executive action to make sure that every person who purchases a firearm on the internet or in a store gets checked on their background, mass shootings would decline drastically and many lives would be saved. But he doesn't do it because our president has essentially come to view his presidency as a mostly ceremonial role. He's not acting and nothing's going to happen. And that makes me sad. That makes a lot of other people sad. People on the right, people on the left, because it seems like no matter what happens, no matter how bad things get, our president is not going to do jack shit. So you're the ones who can change that, though. You're the ones who can go out there and call for a program that directs us towards universal background checks. Safety will benefit from it because people who are crazy, who are likely to commit mass shootings, won't get their hands on guns anymore. Gun owners will benefit from it because their position to hold a gun would be justified by the way that they could prove only the ones who are responsible have those guns, and we all as a society would benefit from more safety. That's everything I want to say. Please have a slightly longer waiting period to purchase a gun so we can save people's lives. And please, let's have a universal background check program to make sure that those who pose a threat to society no longer do so.